Your life can look respectable from the outside and still be quietly built on avoidance. You answer messages. You show up to work. You say the right things. You manage your image. You keep the peace. You carry old disappointments with a practiced face. And if someone asked how you are, you could give them a functional answer, a believable answer, an answer polished enough to keep them from looking any deeper. But beneath that surface, something in you already knows the performance is getting expensive. You are tired in a way sleep does not fix, restless in moments that should feel calm, irritated by small things because larger truths have gone unspoken for too long. And what you have been calling normal may not be normal at all. It may be the slow consequence of living in conflict with reality. Most people do not lose themselves all at once. They lose themselves by degrees, through 100 private permissions, through small daily betrayals that never look dramatic enough to confront. They say yes when they mean no, because rejection frightens them more than resentment. They postpone difficult decisions and call it patience. They let their mood decide their standards. They overthink instead of acting, then call that depth. They live distracted, not because life is too full, but because silence would expose what they have been avoiding. That is how the mask survives. It survives in work, where a person stays busy so they never have to ask whether their effort has direction. It survives in relationships, where someone would rather be chosen falsely than risk standing alone honestly. It survives in ambition, where people confuse visibility with purpose and applause with meaning. And it survives most painfully in private, in those quiet moments after the noise drops, when you can feel the distance between the person you present and the person you respect. I know this pattern because I've watched it in others, and because I have seen traces of it in myself. Recently, I have been reflecting on how often people suffer not because the truth is hidden from them, but because they keep resisting truths that feel too harsh to accept. I have seen that in my own life too, moments where I already knew what needed to change, but part of me still wanted a softer explanation. That is one of the most dangerous habits a person can have. Not ignorance, but emotional negotiation with reality. You know the relationship is draining your dignity, but you call it complicated. You know your habits are weakening your mind, but you call it a rough phase. You know you are delaying necessary action, but you call it preparation. And slowly your life becomes organized around protecting illusions that no longer deserve protection. This is the cost of the mask, not just wasted time. Not just wasted time, not just frustration, something worse. The cost is that your own mind stops trusting you, because every time you see clearly and refuse to act, you teach yourself a lesson. You teach yourself that truth can be postponed, that standards can be bent, that inner knowledge can be overruled by comfort. And eventually, self-respect does not disappear in one catastrophe. It erodes through repeated compromise. This is where Stoicism enters like cold water. Not to comfort your excuses, not to decorate your pain with elegant quotes, but to expose the hidden arrangement you have made with weakness. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, not to impress anyone, but to stay awake in a world that constantly invites sleep. Epictetus did not ask whether life felt fair. He asked what was in your control and what kind of person you were choosing to be. Seneca did not flatter human nature. He saw how easily people become servants to fear, appetite, opinion, and delay. Stoicism begins with a brutal truth most people spend years trying not to accept. Truth 1, reality does not become lighter because you resist it. Life does not pause while you negotiate with what is true. Pain keeps moving, time keeps moving, consequences keep moving, and at some point you either accept what is real and grow stronger, or keep resisting it and grow more bitter. That realization changed how I see nearly everything, because once you understand that reality is unmoved by your preferred explanation, another truth becomes unavoidable. Truth 2. Much of your suffering is not coming from the event, but from your judgment of it. This is not a comforting idea. It is a demanding one. It means your anger is often not proof of injustice, but proof that your expectations were spoiled. Your anxiety is often not a prophecy, but a mind rehearsing helplessness. Your resentment is often not moral clarity, but wounded pride that wants to stay important. The Stoics were severe about this because they understood something modern people often forget. If you do not govern your interpretations will govern you. And now we arrive at the first, deeper unmasking. What you keep calling normal is often just undisciplined reactivity that became familiar. You wake up and check your phone before checking your mind. You absorb everyone else's urgency before touching your own priorities. You let random information invade your attention, and then wonder why your thoughts feel weak, scattered, and heavy. You mistake stimulation for engagement. You mistake comfort for peace. You mistake emotional release for wisdom. But peace is not the absence of friction. Peace is the presence of order. And many people have never built inner order. They have only built habits that numb disorder temporarily. That is why they need noise all the time. Noise to avoid thought. Noise to avoid grief. Noise to avoid the simple and devastating question, what kind of life am I rehearsing? Because that is what a day is. A rehearsal. Every repeated indulgence is rehearsal. Every repeated excuse is rehearsal. Every time you abandon what matters because you do not feel like doing it, you are not merely making a small mistake. You are training your character to bend in the direction of impulse. This is truth 3. What feels familiar is not always what is healthy. Familiar misery can feel safer than unfamiliar discipline. A cluttered mind can feel normal if you have lived inside it long enough. Emotional chaos can start to feel like personality. That is why so many people defend the very patterns that are diminishing them. They do not love the pattern. They fear the emptiness that would appear without it. Stoic self-examination cuts through that fog. It asks, what have you allowed to become acceptable in yourself? Not what hurts, not what happened, not what others failed to do. What have you permitted? That question unsettles people because it returns responsibility to the only place it can actually do any work. And once you start asking it honestly, another illusion begins to crack. What you keep calling necessary is often just fear, with a respectable vocabulary. Approval seeking becomes social intelligence. Cowardice becomes caution. Busyness becomes ambition. Distraction becomes recovery. Resentment becomes ambition. Distraction becomes recovery. Resentment becomes standards. This is how the mind protects itself. It renames weakness so it can keep living with it. But the psychological payoff has a hidden price. If you organize your life around avoiding discomfort, then discomfort becomes your master. If you organize your speech around public opinion, then the crowd becomes your owner. If you need constant reassurance to act, then fear will decide the size of your life. This is truth 4. Much of what people call prudence is actually self-protection from judgment. They do not speak honestly because they are keeping the peace. They do not begin because they are waiting for the right time. They do not let go because they are honoring what mattered. Sometimes that is true. Often, it is only a cleaner costume for fear. Epictetus said that if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Very few people can tolerate that. They would rather remain half alive and socially approved than fully awake and temporarily misunderstood, so they keep performing. They curate. They manage impressions. They build identities around being seen in the right light. But the more a person lives for the audience, the less substance remains when the room goes quiet. That is truth 5. Public approval is one of the most elegant forms of slavery. It does not always chain the body, it chains the will. And the cruel part is that it rarely feels like slavery while you're inside it. It feels like strategy. It feels like maturity. It feels like being realistic, until one day you realize you have built your choices around imagined reactions from people who are not carrying your consequences. Now we go deeper, because the final illusion is not in your schedule or your social behavior or your habits alone. It is in what you keep calling yourself. This is just how I am. I have always been this way. I need to feel ready first. Other people make me like this. I cannot change unless life changes first. Listen carefully. Some of those sentences began as pain, but repeated long enough, pain becomes identity, and identity becomes a prison when it is built from repeated surrender. This is truth 6. Much of what you call your personality is simply a pattern you have practiced for too long. You practiced avoidance, and now you call yourself indecisive. You practiced resentment, and now you call yourself guarded. You practiced dependence on intensity, and now you call yourself passionate. You practiced surrender to mood, and now you call yourself complicated. But character is not built by what you feel once. It is built by what you repeatedly obey. I used to justify self-pity, hesitation, and emotional overthinking as depth. But a lot of the time, it was avoidance. It was easier to analyze pain than to discipline myself through it. Easier to study the wound than to stop touching it. Easier to build a sophisticated explanation than a stronger life. That is the danger of intelligence without self-command. It gives weakness better language. Stoicism refuses to let language hide the truth. It says, you are not doomed to remain the way you have been rehearsing. But you will remain that way if you keep worshipping your current explanations. Then comes the moment that changes everything. Not a dramatic breakthrough, not a perfect morning, not a speech, a separation, a clean internal separation between what you are and what you have been feeding. You stop saying, this is just my personality, and you say, this is a pattern I have rehearsed. You stop saying, this is just how life is. And you say, this is what I have permitted to continue. You stop saying, this is what people do. And you say, this is what weakens people when they stop examining themselves. That moment is severe, but it is liberating. Because responsibility feels heavy only to the part of you that still wants an excuse. To the stronger part, responsibility is oxygen. This is truth 7. Your life changes the moment you stop asking what explains you and start asking what requires you. That is the Stoic return to self, not self-expression, not self-soothing, not self-obsession, self-command. First, reclaim the mind. Your mind cannot remain a public hallway where every impulse, notification, fear, memory, and opinion walks in without resistance. You have to learn the discipline of not believing every thought the moment it appears. A thought says you are behind. That does not make it true. A feeling says you should avoid the hard conversation. That does not make it wise. An emotion says you have been disrespected. That does not make your anger honorable. To reclaim the mind is to insert judgment between stimulus and surrender. It is to notice the first movement of panic and not kneel to it. It is to catch the inner speech that turns inconvenience into catastrophe. Modern life is designed to fragment attention, and a fragmented attention produces a fragmented self. So protect your perception. Limit what invades it. Be selective about what earns emotional entry. Speak to yourself in language that is clean, accurate, and disciplined. A weaker person asks, how do I feel about this? A steadier person asks, what is true here and what is my duty inside it? Second, reclaim the day. Do not talk to me about transformation if your days still belong to randomness. A serious life requires visible structure. Not because routine is glamorous, but because time integrity is moral integrity in action. Wake with intention. Set order around your body, your environment, your work, your inputs. Keep promises to yourself in small things. The bed made, the walk taken, the training done, the task begun when you said it would be begun. These things look ordinary. That is why the undisciplined mind dismisses them, but ordinary actions repeated with seriousness rebuild authority from the ground up. A disordered room can reflect a disordered threshold. A drifting morning becomes a drifting afternoon. A day ruled by appetite teaches the nervous system that comfort outranks command. So reclaim the day by making it harder for weakness to improvise. Reduce friction around the good. Increase friction around the foolish. Do not wait to feel powerful. Create a life that makes power more likely. Third, reclaim your center under pressure. Anyone can feel clear in ideal conditions. The real test is what happens when life presses on your unhealed places, when you are insulted, when you are ignored, when you are lonely, when the plan fails, when boredom tempts you back into old escapes, when uncertainty makes your chest tighten and your mind starts searching for someone to blame. Can you remain your own? Can you stay governed when the environment becomes unstable? This is where Stoicism becomes living strength, not dead theory, not decorative wisdom. Strength. When insult comes, you do not need to inherit the other person's chaos. When rejection comes, you do not turn it into a verdict on your worth. When loneliness comes, you do not rush to cheap companionship with distraction. When uncertainty comes, you return to what can still be done with steadiness, clarity, and restraint. That is inner freedom, not controlling events. Refusing to let events dictate your character, and from that discipline, a different kind of person begins to emerge. A person who no longer needs an audience. He does not need to be constantly seen to feel real. He does not need to announce every intention to believe in it. He does not need to dramatize his suffering to justify it. He does not need permission to live in alignment with what he knows, what no longer controls him. Not every impulse. Not every mood, not every opinion in the room, not the old identity that once kept him small, not the cheap comfort that used to feel necessary. He becomes embarrassed by things he once tolerated in himself, not because he hates himself, but because he has seen what self-betrayal costs. His authority is quiet. In conflict, he does not spill himself everywhere. In temptation, he remembers the price hidden behind the pleasure. At work, he values depth over display. In silence, he does not scramble to escape his own company. In relationships, he no longer confuses being wanted with being respected. This is the peace people misunderstand. Not the soft peace of avoidance, not the fragile peace of favorable conditions. Earned peace. The peace of a person whose inner life is no longer at war with what he knows. And that kind of peace cannot be performed. It can only be built. So if you feel exposed by this, good. Not because shame is the goal, but because recognition is the beginning of freedom. Some of the most important truths in life feel brutal at first because they strip away excuses. But the same truth that wounds your ego can also free your life. Ask yourself the harder question the next time frustration rises. Am I facing reality right now, or am I trying to make reality emotionally convenient? That question may expose weakness. Let it. A clean wound heals better than a protected infection. If this resonated, like the video. Comment with the line or insight that hit hardest. And subscribe for grounded Stoic philosophy and self-mastery content, because in the end, the cost of illusion is not just pain. It is a life that never fully becomes your own. Stop living in reaction to imagined audiences. Stop defending identities built from old surrender. Stop protecting habits that are quietly erasing your strength. Face what is true. Accept what is required. And let your life be governed by something deeper than comfort. The final law is simple. What you refuse to confront will keep ruling you, until the day you become too honest to obey it.